and welcome to the 10th in a series dealing with using science and metaphysics to explain the possibility of our reality being a computer simulation. My name is John Woodsell, and in the previous sections I introduced the first three scripts from the Aries through Gemini. In this session, the Moon, the number 4, and the Cancer script will be discussed. This script deals with the element water. The chemical H2O, compound water, manifests her properties. Understanding this compound gives clues to understanding this element. Unfortunately, the CSP doesn't understand her properties, for if they had, she wouldn't be so badly treated. The water molecule is shaped like a boomerang or a spearhead, creating a dipole, separation of charges. It brings two lines together, creating a plane, a chemical field. Now oxygen is greedy. She is like a vacuum cleaner, sucking up electrons. Her bonds with hydrogen, are one of consumption. She strips him bare. His sense of nakedness is expressed with a plus charge, a site of electron deficiency. The dipole is complete with a negative charge on oxygen 8, electron surplus. The two polar regions extract other water molecules where opposites attract. Although these extra connections, hydrogen bonding, are weak relative to a normal chemical bond, the number of them is so large it produces a powerful polymer, a giant field, such as a river, lake, and oceans. Now, Victor Schauberger, the water wizard, is a mentor, and I will be using a lot of his information in the following. Although water adapts to any physical shape, she will not be compressed. She squeezes out of rocks deep within the earth due to compression forces. Eventually, she works herself out of the earth and reaches the light of day. She appears as mountain streams that wind themselves and combine to form rivers, following the law of gravity until she reaches the ocean. As these streams flow downhill, they encounter the essence of earth at every collision. Minerals along the way enrich the virgin water with consciousness of that particular area. When the virgin water is saturated with consciousness, she then becomes mature water and a deliverer of consciousness to the microcosm. This is the water that we should be drinking. Now, water prefers to travel as a vortex. She travels as a snake. She dies when forced through a covert. In order to remain pure or enlightened, sunlight must be restricted. This is achieved by the growth of the trees along the banks. It is essential that the water be at its anomaly point of 4 degrees C. This is the null point and the temperature where information from the programmer's hard drive can enter the chemical field and ride on the polymer streams. In the river, the bottom has rocks smoothed out by the flowing water. Some of these rocks are shaped like a boomerang and serve as points where the flowing water can be pierced, causing splitting of these fibers. Zones are created where water of a particular temperature and density is adjacent to another of slightly different properties. This creates vortices within the river, some pointing up and some down. They are called whirlpools, while others spinning parallel with the river. This is the force that shapes the riverbed. These zones create charge differentials, producing a giant chemical field. The enlivened river grows in both depth and width, such that the water on the bottom continues to be dark and enlivened while it is shadowed by the above layer of water which dies in the sun. Now, it is possible to take pure dead water, an example distilled water, and re-enliven it when the water is made to flow as a vortex while maintaining the temperature of 4 degrees C with no light present under carbon dioxide pressure. Allow this flow for 20 minutes and pure, re-enlivened water is attained. Now, water traveling as a vortex in a river is water in its plasma state. The vortex allows the formation of a double layer which prevents the fibers from dissipating with its neighbors. Water has a memory, the power to mirror the now and reproduce it in the future is a memory. These memories are destroyed by distillation or by shock, tangent rocks, barriers that prevent the vortex flow or waterfalls, etc. Water has the power to remember the presence of a chemical which has been diluted to the point where there is no physical presence, yet the water can remember. Water can communicate. River molecules downstream knows when there is a disturbance upstream. Now recall, water has air to her right, meaning air has the hammer. The effects of wind is the effect of the element air. Wind captures water molecules when it blows across a body of water, creating a vapor state. These water molecules become satellites to a central sun, a dust particle, 6 per particle. This geometric shape is a hexagon. With the hydrogens added, the structure becomes an isohedron, both platonic solids, the latter preferred by water. These compounds congregate, becoming a cloud. When enough accumulate, the water drop starts to fall. Sometime after that, the water breaks its connection to the central sun and once again becomes the collective within the river. Now, as the temperature is reduced, these droplets become a snowflake. This is a sublimation where vapor skips the liquid phase and goes directly to the solid phase. In so doing, the hexahydrate solid becomes a two-dimensional plane of individual structures. Thus, chemical water serves two masters, a central sun where she gives totally to it. Her other property is the water where she serves the programmer by bringing information from the major hard drive and is available for all life forms. Unfortunately, the players have nearly destroyed the rivers through mismanagement that will lead to their own destruction. Because of slight differences in temperature and density created by the movements within the river, electricity and EM forces are created. It is possible for these clusters to be drawn into a vortex, creating a void and allowing the passage of consciousness from the macrocosm to the microcosm. In the center of a vortex there is perfect stillness and fiber streams remain at rest. In the eye of the vortex there is a levitating force, strong enough to levitate salmon up the river. Eventually, the river reaches the ocean and now becomes purified with salts, a material that inhabits the ocean. Salts are essential to attain a level of purification where there is no longer movement, as in a river. Salt solutions create a dipole, an environment where the information can ride the charge differentials. Now, water has the capacity to dissolve earth in varied proportions, but with the exception of color, water has the same transparent appearance. I call water whirl. All ions are solvated or encapsulated with water molecules. The preferred structure to encapsulate is the hexahydrate structure. Water is in equilibrium with Earth, and her manifest destiny is to completely dissolve Earth, creating a great ocean. Water has power over fire by putting it out, but its collective force is dissipated by air, blowing it into the four directions. Combine water with fire and you have acid, which dissolves Earth, while air and water is base, which precipitates it. All water's archetypes deal with relationships between unequal macrocosmic, microcosmic entities. They start with the procreative urge. Is it satisfied? Or are you barren, forever wishing for that unborn child? Or do you have a child or children? The nurturing process requires you, the macrocosm, to give totally to the microcosm. Can you do that, or are you so concerned with your needs? Each day brings a relief in that you give less and less so as to empower the to do things itself. Can you do that? Or do you, like Demeter, strive to freeze your child in a state of consciousness, preventing it from growing, so as to maintain a level of intimacy? Or are you like so many parents that over-nurture the child until it goes overboard, making the day when you stop being the nurturer and become just a caretaker? Does the shock of removing the nurturing numb your child and provide endless guilt for you? At some point you learn the power associated with over-nurturing others. The addiction of such dependency gives you enormous power, and the threat of nurturing removal stings them and keeps them in mind. Scorpio. Does this power drive you into madness, or the fear of such power prevent you from giving anything to anybody? Is it possible for you to empower the microcosm by kicking them out the door when nurturing is done? Pisces? In all of these relationships, it must be learned that they are all transitory. You are a crutch, and someday they must fly away. Water is in equilibrium with Earth. She has penetrating powers onto Earth. Depending on the structure of the molecules, water would find a way in and penetrate within. Water will create many changes in the layer penetrated. There is a fourth state of water, and forms on hydrophilic surfaces and extends out quite a distance that can't be explained by electrostatic nor surface tension. If a water molecule is a marble, this layer would extend about a mile. The properties of this layer are quite different from the rest of the water. Pollock calls it easy water. The energy for building easy water comes from the sun. All wavelengths ranging from ultraviolet through visible to infrared, the best, can build this ordered water. Light from the sun catalyzes a charge separation, creating a battery. Within the zone, it's charged negative. On the boundary to bulk water contains the plus charge. Adding additional light stimulates more charge separation. Any hydrophilic surface is a site for the creation of easy water. The battery production can deliver energy in a manner similar to the way the separated charges in plants deliver energy. The stored electrical energy in water can drive various kinds of work, including flow. The radiant energy is absorbed and stored in the water. Additional incident light brings faster flow. Incident radiant energy drives the flow in much the same way that it drives vascular flow in plants. This new understanding of water will have profound effects in biology, especially in cellular science. The cell is actually a gel engulfed within easy water. All the energy is provided in the zone. There is no need for all the pumps claimed by the CSP. Water always flows downward, following the laws of gravity and entropy. However, for the participants in water world, there is freedom from the virus force of gravity, a source of addiction. Processes using water are ones of support where the macrocosm gives unconditionally to the microcosm. The great ocean rides on the earth and maintains a cyclic motion thanks to the gravitational pull of the moon, goddess of water processes. Through this action, tides are created, having a cycle identical to the seasons. Since the body is a bag of water, it stands to reason that the influence of the moon on us is enormous. The region between the tides brings forth creatures that roam both the sea, air, and land. The season of Cancer starts on the longest day of the year. What happens the day after? It is the end of the solar forces and the start of his decline. In Gemini, we saw the triumph of the masculine with the creation of the intellect. But in Cancer, we see the waning of solar energy. Something has happened. There is a birth of the night forces. The solar forces has reached its peak and is descending. The hero is past his prime. For the first time, the infant feels that is not going to get everything at once. As discussed in the Saturn cycle, 7 years of age is a dramatic time for humans. It brings their first major crisis, making a time of complete separation of the child from its nurturer. For 7 years, the child has been exposed to the unconditional nurturer, the mother. At 7, the scene changes, and now the child is exposed to the father, the conditional nurturer. Cancer is the second cardinal sign, signified a burst of energy from its source. Where Aries is a reaction to the universe and self-preservation, Cancer draws a subconscious reaction in support or denial of the Aries energy. When the individual is in the Yang portion of the script, this feeling may be an emotional high. When the individual is in the Yin portion of the script, this feeling may be an emotional low, a denial of the Aries expression. Cancer is a water sign. There is an instinctual need to nurture that arises when our creative instinct is transmuted into the co-creative urge. Recall in Cancer, there is an end to the solar force and the beginning of the lunar force. There is not an end to desire, however, only to the fulfillment of that desire. Subconsciously, we rationalize this by such statements as, if I can't have the dream, at least my creation will. Cancer is a feminine sign. Archetypally, women have been scripted to play the feminine role. Recall the solar forces is given in order for us to cement our ego so that we can become a separate entity. However, the feminine was taught to take care of the male in whatever capacity she could. She was therefore denied the Yang solar forces. Cancer deals with denial of the creative urge so as to experience a co-creative experience. The temptation would be to project her unfulfilled desires onto her creation. The moon complements the sun. In this dyad, the sun is Yang and the moon is Yin. There are many problems with the moon regarding its role. According to the law of opposites, she should be the complement or the opposite side of the sun. However, she has her own agenda as depicted by her sign. Are they compatible? Although the moon plays the opposite role to the sun, her presence is highly variable. She could be a sliver or as big as the sun. This symbolizes an inconsistency in lunar support. The moon has no light of itself. It only reflects the light of the sun. The symbolism of the sun is that it adds shadows and contrasts to the solar light. It is necessary in three-dimensional realities. Without lunar force, reality would be all light or darkness, no contrast, within an event horizon. The moon reflects the light from the sun. She continues to reflect this light as long as she thinks it's pure. She is like the mother, an invisible supporter if the light is pure. If, however, she suspects the light has become impure, then like the mother, she will no longer support it. The light will become just black-white and no contrast. Either way, we become blinded and in a state of need. We obtain the solar light directly from the sun. However, we get the lunar light after it has bounced off the moon and reflected back onto us. There is a time delay. An invisible energy on the moon is absorbed by the sunlight and colors the perception. This time delay symbolizes time passing. Something in the past is incomplete. It reflects a habit, preventing free will and a choice. Any habit symbolizes past conditioning. The moon represents a past addiction that prevents choiceless awareness in the present. The moon is 400 times smaller, but is 400 times closer, resulting in them being exactly the same size from our vantage. Quite a coincidence. Since both look the same in the sky, their influences must be also the same. Only one is variable. We are all addicts. Our past conditioning has left us with some addictions that carry over into this life. They are stored in deep crevices in our minds that prevent free choices. The moon supports solar forces as long as she thinks they are pure. The planetary position of the moon in the house indicates where she has purity problems. She either isn't doing a good job in censoring solar energy, letting impure energy through, or she is too critical and not letting enough in. A job that takes a lifetime is to purge the lunar energy so that it would be razor sharp in denying or emitting pure thoughts. When the lunar force has been purged, then it will serve through a feeling whenever stimulus is pure or not, a valuable device. The archetypes for the lunar forces are, of course, feminine. They balance the solar forces. The means by which the balancing occurs is by the moon denying support for the masculine venture, resulting in a mood. Moods are the results of denying lunar energy. They are catalyzed the start of the yin cycle. Moons are especially nasty for males. For them, it appears to come from outside their domain. For females, they have been casted as the moon for the mothers, so for them it comes from within. The solar force is the center of the universe, or so he thinks. The masculine thinks in terms of linearity, consistency, and being logical. He will follow any path that leads to him shining. He is not used to rhythms. Rhythms are essential to lunar forces, the forces of water. Her experiences in life have conditioned her to the wave-like motions of water. She also learned that it is the nature of the solar force to always go overboard on extending fire. He always needs to have limits on shining. She learns the rhythm of giving support when needed and denying when he goes overboard. This is again very difficult for the masculine to understand, while the feminine understands it instinctually. The only way to learn this lunar energy is by becoming a supporter, a mother. Thus, parenting is a role for lunar energy. Once more, the woman is archetypally scripted to be the role of support system. Her monthly cycle follows the moon. The masculine fears this lunar force because he knows deep down she has power over him. The power lies in denial of the support that he periodically needs, which places him in a mood. He becomes blinded by light darkness and unable to function in areas of his life. The feminine has been scripted to be always in darkness. To survive, she had to learn to function in darkness. Being in darkness makes it easy to observe a light source. Being in the light is blinding. The moon is a protector of spirit. This force protects us from going overboard in egotism. I visualize the moon as a throttle plate, as in a carburetor. When this plate is open, all the ingredients, fuel, air, etc., go full throttle into the engine, giving full power. However, when the throttle closes, it reduces the power to the engine. The throttle action of the moon is the means by which we control solar forces. The moon's placement in the chart is a valuable stepping stone into chart delineation. It gives a direction to look at how the universe will proceed in stopping a past addiction. An example is moon in the 7th house. This would be an individual who is addicted to being in the house of Venus and peace, rather than Mars and war. You can call them a love junkie. Somehow ego manifests when peace is chosen. There is an element of impurity when choosing peace. For some reason, the moon has become... The lunar force is either shut down too soon or not soon enough, resulting from a past addiction. The results in a mood that colors the need to relate. The workshop of life is to purify the moon indicator or throttle such that it shuts down precisely when going overboard on egotism regarding issues of the house. Until this happens, the throttle will shut down too soon or not soon enough. Life experiences will hopefully help sharpen the edge of the throttle. The moon sign will indicate issues that are not complete regarding its energy. Sign is a step, taking us from the former side leads off Something is blocking the smooth passage. There are a number of variables causing the blocks, and will have to be examined in detail from clues in other parts of the chart. Clues are available at aspects to the moon, the sun's relationship, as well as other things going on in the subject's house. As mentioned, the planets pair up so as to obey the laws of opposites. The sun and the moon is a planetary pair, the golden marriage between the yang sun and the yin moon. The moon can also be a yang force. This happens when she is the mother, bringing forth in a yang way, nurturing the child or the sick. The balancing force then becomes Saturn. She says yes, he, the father, says no. The moon, therefore, is planetary energy, which is there as a stepping stone to bring a change from solar force to lunar force. It is there to purify our egotism so that we do not get fixed into the desire to conquer the world. It is there to manifest the law of opposites. It offers roles as a support system for others to shine. Of course, the moon plays a big part in the Cancer script. She is the Den Mother, the nurturer of the universe. Bring me your tired, poor, downtrodden, and I will heal them. This sounds like the inscription on the Statue of Liberty within the shores of the United States, a Cancer country. But what are its motives? A nurturer is one who gives support to anyone in need. Whenever a person is in need, he is unconsciously locked into a script and represents the microcosm, while the Cancer supporter becomes the macrocosm. There is possible ego manifestation in being the nurturer. Down deep, there is a statement, I am better than you. You need me. I must have value. Having Cancer on the cusp of the first house of Mars and the masculinity side has a conflict. The outer side is now connected with the feminine and the moon. What this means is that the outer projection, rendered visible by Mars, presents a nurturing feminine energy. Often people with this rising sign experience difficulties in expressing their masculine side. Their yang manifestation strives to win with water, but water puts out fire. There is an inner conflict with this grip. Often Mars energy, misdirected, leading to anger, is not expressed in Cancer script. What this means is that when the anger button is pushed, something else comes out, sad, scared, or even glad. This is called a racket. Thus the outward watery expression may conceal other emotions. Again, purging is necessary so that the feelings will be real. The gift in the Cancer script is the trine between Cancer and Scorpio on the cusp of the fifth house. There is power in nurturing others. People of lesser consciousness in a state of need get support from the Den Mother. It is very possible that this need can lead to an addiction for both participants. The person getting the nurturing feels like he is swimming in water where they are freed from the forces of gravity, or Saturn, who is the wolf at the door, causing fear. When the Den Mother gives unconditionally to the unconscious, a relationship develops. The greater the need, the stronger the bond, the greater possible addictions formed. The synthesis, what is learned, is Virgo on the cusp of the third house. Virgo deals with sorting out the cosmos and bringing the energy down to Earth, or the outer side. It is through nurturing that deep feelings are brought to the surface. The individual is learning how to feel. This is the winning results from the nurturing process. Every time we nurture, we get nurtured with these feelings. But when nurturing becomes predictable, the feelings received will become artificial. In Cancer, the mother projects out Capricorn on the seventh house cusp and the father. She gives unconditional nurturing and leaves it to you to define the limits. Thus, in order to play with the Den Mother, you must become Capricorn, the father, the one who defines limits and the word no, the bad cop. The 10th house cusp is Aries. It is the job of the father to balance the Cancer and Capricorn sides. Saturn will play the role of Aries, Mars, and create situations where uncontrolled fire is administered by the one being nurtured. In short, the over-nurtured child becomes a brat, so as to convert the mother and yes to father and no. She will be pushed to the point where she can't get someone else to be the bad guy. She must learn to become choiceless between being Cancer and yes, or Capricorn and no. There is danger here. That moment when anger emerges can be projected onto the child, catalyzing his shadow. This is how rackets are created. When she can no longer appease the Aries beast, she goes into the yin portion of the script with the need for 4th house energy, Libra in this case. Recall, nurturing or water puts out the flames of Aries. Consequently, Saturn will make the fires of Aries unreachable to water. This is an example of the power of projection, in this case leading to repulsion. The nurturer, in her need to nurture, turns others into monsters so that they could be removed from the nurturing process. The need for Libra is a cry to the brat for some fair play. The inside is brought on by the square of Cancer and Libra. What the dead mother must learn is that there is no such thing as fair play when you are in the role of the nurturer, macrocosm to the microcosm. Don't ever expect fair play from a child of any age. Their contract with you is for you to nurture them whenever they are in need or unconscious. No one can be held accountable for their deeds when they are unconscious. Unconscious children are capable of being beastly, so expecting a return from a child is an illusion. In the yin cycle, the gift is the trine from Libra to Aquarius, both air signs, and we work to undo the Cancer yang portion. Aquarius deals with being able to detach from reality. With this loss, she will be unable to detach from her reality, resulting in having to face the Aries beast. What is lost is Leo on the 2nd house cusp, and the sun, which she values most. This is the golden child that she has over-nurtured to the point where it has become a monster. The synthesis or energy learned in the yin portion is Sagittarius on the cusp of the 6th house. This sign deals with wisdom and understanding. With the loss of the outer sun, she learns that ongoing unconditionally nurturing leads to ungrateful children. Recall, the sign on the 6th house cusp is the alchemical agent that converts the masculine to the feminine, Cancer to Capricorn in this case. Ultimately, it concludes that Mars energy is dangerous if unbounded. We only have to observe the world today to observe this ramification. Nurturing is a time process. For the firstborn, nurturing is 100%. Every day should be less, giving more and more empowering so that the infant learns to do things itself. As shown before in this graph, there is a line showing how much nurturing should be given at a particular time. If you are nurturing too much above the line, then the child is not learning to do things itself, leading to dependency. Is there a motive here? Scorpio. If the child is not getting enough nurturing, he gains street smart, but at the expense of childhood innocence. This child had to grow up too fast. All too often, the parents over-nurture the child until it becomes such a monster that the parent becomes a caregiver and the nurturing ends. When the child kicks you in the face at 1, you think it's cute. At 3, it's annoying and the word stop is introduced. At 7, that action is definitely not okay and strong sanctions are given. When does such a kick in the face turn the over-nurturer into a caretaker? Some parents, it's early, even at 2, while most are sometime in their teen years. For some, it may not happen until your mate does it. Again, there are many combinations that ring the Cancer script. Parents in Cancer and Scorpio, Libra, and Aquarius, as well as Cancer square Libra, will display the script. The square is the plight of many women, for it displays both sides in conflict between Cancer that gives all to the other, while Libra believes that there can't be any love till there is justice and fair play. This is the conflict between Moon and Venus. A lot of women feel that the only way that they can receive love is to give unconditionally to the beloved. The other extreme is the woman who won't give any nurturing, demanding equal consciousness. Both myths. There is a time to nurture and a time to stop. This session was the discussion of Cancer and the Den Mother script. This is a mechanism by which the creative urge is converted to the co-creative urge with the desire to nurture the unconscious. However, the temporary processes requires the balance between saying yes and no. In the next session, the masculine hurrah is celebrated in the Leo script. The arc plasma mode will be discussed along with the tricky number 5. Until then, have a wonderful life. Bye-bye.